Hello, my name is Deshler,
Hi, my name is Claudia Rivera.
and we're here to talk about our research project, Latino Voter Participation and Residential Geography. So, our research question is, under what conditions does residential geography affect Latino voter participation? And we hypothesize that Latino communities who are in closer proximity to the southern border will have higher voter participation than those communities located further north. And here's how we define our variables. So our independent variable is residential geography, and we define that as Latinos, the placement of Latinos in a residential location. And our dependent variable is Latino voter participation, and we define Latino voters as voting individuals who are from Latin America or are of Latin American descent. Now, we do want to recognize that the term Latino is more complicated and has a long history. However, for the purpose of our study, we will be simplifying it to this definition. And we also want to acknowledge that residential geography may not be the only aspect that would influence voter participation. So for the purpose of our study, we will be including controls such as education, income level, and English proficiency.
So essentially, we're wanting to study Latino voter participation because although Latino growth has slowed since the recession, Latino populations were still 54% of the U.S. Population growth. And this is just to conceptualize the importance of our study and to understand that a lot of the growth that's happening within the Latino communities, as shown by this map by the Pew Research Center, it's seen more in rural areas, so we'd like to see what impacts geography has on this. So the previous literature, a study by Carr and Tavares has found a link between income and voter participation, city size and political participation. A study done on that showed that the residents of a city in higher income cities were more likely to vote. And then the availability of second language resources for people, for Latino and Spanish-speaking people, the probability of a non-English speaking individual to vote depends on the availability of second language ballots, where it's more probable when these bilingual ballots are available for non-English speakers to vote. And just a little bit about geography, although there isn't much previous literature looking at geographical location and Latino voter participation, we did find a study by Taylor, Combs, and Berger talking about and focusing on the spatial placement of voters and how by looking at the lens of geography and spatial placement, we can address various variables that potentially have negative impacts on voter participation. So our methodology is survey research. Our sample will be randomized registered voters targeting 1,000 Latino voters per major Arizona town: Tucson, Phoenix, Flagstaff, Yuma, and Nogales and Page. The distribution of the survey will be distributing this through the emails of registered voters. Some of the internal validity is that we can't apply specific stimulants as we could in the regular lab settings. And then some of the selection bias that can occur is that participants will need to volunteer, so they could be more eager or motivated to participate. In external validity, we can measure constituents in a natural setting, which is beneficial for our study, but our scope here can be limited since we'll need Latinos from diverse incomes, ages, and education levels. So we expect cities like Tucson, Nogales, and Yuma to have higher voter participation since they're closer to the southern border. Flagstaff and Page to have lower voter participation since they're smaller cities and more north. And then Phoenix will have medium to high voter participation since it's income and education variability, but also because it's somewhat closer to the middle of Arizona.
All right, so here's some limitations and methods of improvement for our study. So the first major limitation is completion rate. So online studies are notorious for low completion rates. So in the future, we hope to provide monetary compensation to incentivize participants to finish the study. We are only conducting this survey once after one election, so in the future we hope to expand our research to a time series cross-section study to kind of encompass a more broader perspective. Access to computers or online services may be an issue. Individuals may not own a computer at home or have online access. Also, older individuals who are not as tech savvy may not be comfortable navigating the online system, so we may not be able to reach those individuals in the community. Honesty of responses is another issue. We're asking for very sensitive information, such as income level and whether or not someone is Latino. Individuals may not feel comfortable providing that information. Also, we have no way of verifying whether this information is true, so we are really relying on the honesty of our participants. Latino identification is another issue that has kind of come up. So as I mentioned before, the term Latino is very complicated. Also, in a Pew research, this showed that Americans with a Hispanic heritage are increasingly, as the generations go on, not identifying as Latino. So someone who we may consider Latino for our study may not identify as such. Group consciousness is also another aspect that could affect voter participation, and it also ties into the whole Latino identity issue we may encounter. So our hope is that in the future we create a supplementary research project that would go into more depth to understand the group consciousness and Latino identification to supplement the research project that we have designed here. Okay. So our works cited page?
Yeah. We'll be putting up the PowerPoint as an attachment, so please look at it. Thank you so much for watching and listening.
Yes.